and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing 3 new border dies. We have our Scalloped Arches border, we have our Scalloped Fringe border, and also our Diagonal Stripes border. So let's go ahead and check them out. First up, we have the Scalloped Arches border, which has the beautiful scalloped arches and then also a base that you can layer behind. So all you need to do is add some adhesive to the back. We're going to use the glue tube here, and then you can layer it right on top of the base. And what I love about this is that you could use the base on its own, you could use the scalloped arch on its own, or you can layer them. And layering them is so much fun. It's a really cool way to add pops of color. You could even ink blend it like in a rainbow color and layer it behind for rainbow arches. There are so many cute ways to use this border. The other really great thing is that you can use it on both landscape and portrait cards. So it's long enough to go along your landscape cards and then also on portrait, and you can just trim off any of the excess. So these are just such cute borders. I love using them for grounds or decorations on my cards. Now here is the Scalloped Fringe border, and this fringe is so much fun, and it comes with this little decorative piece that you can layer at the top of the fringe. But I also just love using that little decorative piece, especially when I'm creating scenes that need like a baseboard. It's perfect for that. It's just a nice little general border die you can use on its own, or of course layer on the top of this fringe, and look how cute that is. I love the stitch detail at the top and the contrast of the two colors. And just like the Scalloped Arches border, you can put this on both a landscape or a portrait card, and you just kind of trim off any of the excess and you can layer it exactly where you need on your card. Next, we're going to take a look at the Diagonal Stripes border, and just like the other ones, you have the base and then the detail, which you can use separately or layer them together. So we're going to add some liquid glue on the back of this whole stripe and then layer it onto the base to have that beautiful pop of color. You could use pattern paper underneath or ink blending like we talked about before, or you can of course use this little border on its own without the base, or use the base that's just plain to have some really great stripes. So I love that there's so many ways to use all of the different pieces and all of these border dies, and just like the other ones, you can of course use this on a landscape and a portrait style card and just trim off any of the excess. These borders are great for adding little details. They're also great for making little grounds for critters to stand on. There are so many cute and fun ways to use them, so let's go ahead and start creating cards with them. For this first card, we're going to be using the Scalloped Arches border. And here I have some Rainbow Ever After paper, and we're going to be using those stripes to add the color to our arches. So we're going to start off with the plain base piece, and I'm going to line it up along these different stripes. I thought this was a really fun way to use this pattern paper and to get a really gorgeous pastel rainbow. So I'm going to line it up on each stripe and then run it through the die cut machine. So I have my pink, my yellow. Now I'm going to look for the green, and you can see I can just lay that little scalloped border right on top. And these scallops are so cute. I can't wait to use these plain as well. I love that there's just so many ways to mix and match them. So now we have our blue, and then of course we're going to go for our purple. Now the next thing we need to do is cut these scalloped arches, and we're going to do that out of some white cardstock, and we're going to cut a whole bunch of these so that we can layer them on top of all of these pattern paper pieces that we've die cut. And so just like we did at the beginning of the video, I'm going to take my glue tube and add some little drops of glue along all of those little arches and then layer it over the paper. And you can see how gorgeous it looks when that pop of color comes through. I love it so much. It's just so pretty. And so we're going to keep repeating that. Of course, you could use tape runner on the back of these, or also you could use double-sided adhesive sheets, which I think would be a really awesome way to use these delicate borders. But you can just see how pretty they are. And I have a tendency to put the scallop kind of hanging down towards the bottom, but you could of course flip them over and use them the other way too, depending on the design you're looking for in your card. And so now we're working on our blue and purple pieces, and I just love seeing these little kind of scales appear. They almost remind me of like little mermaid scales. I just think they're so beautiful. Now that all of our arches are done, we can start to work on the sentiment. And I wanted to make a completely die-cut card, so we're going to be using these brand new giant outline sentiments for this card. And we have a thanks, a gracias, and a merci. And I'm going to use the merci. And kind of like all of these border dies, there is both an outline and a base. So we're going to die cut both of those out of some white cardstock. And there you can see the outline of it. And we've also got the outline that's the interior of the E and the R. And then we also have the base. And for the base, I wanted the base to have the same kind of colors that are in the scallop. So I'm going to be using my markers to add some color. And what I like about this is you can just kind of scribble really kind of messily onto your cardstock and it just looks so beautiful. And so what I keep doing is taking the outline part of the sentiment and layering it over top to make sure that I like how it's looking. And I'm just doing a darker color towards the bottom and then a lighter color towards the top. And you'll see I'm just kind of scribbling right over. It's quick and easy and it looks so pretty to have those rainbow letters. So now that we've added all that color, just like we did for our scalloped arches, I'm going to take my glue tube and add some to the back of the whole outline piece. And then we're going to layer that on top. And when you layer it, like it just looks so pretty to have those pop of colors coming out on the letters. The next step that we need to do is add the little details for the E and the R. So I'm just going to go ahead, add some liquid glue behind and layer the part of the E right in the center and then the R. And you can really see just how cute these sentiments are. I love them so much. And next up, we start creating a base for all of these. So I'm going to be using some of my favorite cardstock with the largest of the outside in stitch rectangles. And this is the speckled eggshell cardstock and it's a cream color and it has that kind of like detail on it that just adds a little extra something instead of it just being completely plain cardstock that I think is so pretty. And so what I'm going to do is add some tape runner to the back of my bottom scale, my purple one, and I'm going to add that right onto the card. And then I'm going to work my way up and I'm just going to kind of shift them over a little bit to create that kind of like scale looking pattern. And you can see just how pretty this is looking. Now I can just line up the green one with the purple one and press down and I can just keep working my way up. Now the yellow one will line up with the blue one and we can press down, and then of course we'll finish up with our pink one. And then now that I have all of the scales onto the card, I'm calling them scales now. They really are scalloped arches, but they really do look like mermaid scales. It's so pretty. And so we're going to go ahead and just trim off any of the excess on either side of the card. So we can just trim that right off and you'll see that it's going to create this really nice finish edge and this beautiful design to put below all of our sentiment. And so here I'm going to add a bunch of foam tape and foam squares to the back and then layer that right on there with a nice pop because I think it just kind of gives this nice clean and simple card a little extra interest. Now, for the base, we're going to go into the Rainbow Ever After paper because we know it's going to coordinate so nicely. And we're going to be using this gorgeous gradient paper that really matches all of those beautiful colors that we pick so well. And then here is a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25. We're going to layer that beautiful pattern paper on there. And then we can add some tape runner to the back of the whole panel that we just created and layer that. And there's something about that gradient paper behind it that to me just kind of brings the whole thing to life. I just think it looks so pretty. This is such a quick and easy card to do. I actually made 2 of them because it's just so pretty and so much fun, and I can't wait to make more of them. And of course, you could use some of the other giant outline sentiments to kind of change it up too. For this next card, we're going to be using the Scalloped Fringe border. But first, we're going to start off by creating a sunset sky using scattered straw, wild honey, and fired brick. Now in this card, we're going to be using the scallop fringe to become the ground for our scene, which is a really cool way to use it. We've also used the scallop fringe in another video, our intro to All the Smiles, where the scallop fringe was more like the star of the show. So I like that there's lots of different ways to use this. Now we're starting off here by cutting our cactus border die. And these little cactus, I mean, they're so cute. And so we've cut that out of some algae cardstock and we're going to use some forest moss ink just to give a little bit of detail to them. So we're just going to ink the very tops of the cactus, and just by doing a little bit of inking, it really makes them look so special, and I like how the stitching really pops. Then we've gone ahead and cut all of those cute little flowers or plants out of some bright pink textured cardstock, and we're going to layer them over each of these. Of course, you can just leave them green, which is really pretty, or you could do some browns, but the bright pop of pink is just so pretty, and it's going to look really nice with that sunset sky that we created. So we just add a little drop of glue onto each of those, and then we can layer those on there, and I think it's just so pretty with that pink on there. So we're going to set this aside and start to work on our scallop fringe border. So we're going to use both the decorative top piece and the scallop fringe, and we're die cutting kraft cardstock, some vanilla malt cardstock, and some more of the algae cardstock. And now we're going to add some color to these different kind of cream and brown shades using some brown distress inks. So on this one, we're going to do some antique linen, which is a nice light brown, and we're just going to bring that onto the scallop fringe really delicately just to give it a little bit of that kind of dirt look, because this scallop fringe is going to become this desert ground in our scene. Now we've added some tea dye ink to the other one out of the vanilla malt cardstock, and now we're going to do some corduroy onto the kraft cardstock. So I love that by changing up the shade of brown of the ink that we're using, really any browns would do, you can really get a different look out of the same color of cardstock. So I think that's really, really fun. So we're just going to build up that color, and they're just looking so beautiful. Now here we have our sunset sky and some more kraft cardstock, and we're just going to layer this piece below so that there's a nice base that's going to kind of coordinate with all of those colors of the scallop fringe that we created. And then we're going to start adding on those really awesome scallop fringe pieces. And I love how they look with that inking on them. It's so pretty. We're also going to bring back our cactus border too. So the first thing we need to do is just add some adhesive onto that cactus border, and we're going to layer that on first so that we can build up our scallop fringe ground on top of that. Then we're going to add some liquid glue, and we're just going to add it along that top stripe of the scallop fringe and then layer that on there. You can also take some tape runner and kind of run it all along the back of the fringe too. And so we're going to layer our darkest brown at the bottom and then build up these cute little scallops, kind of like we did in the card earlier, but I love that we're getting a totally different look. I also love that these same kind of styles of cards could be created with either the scalloped arches or the scallop fringe, depending on the look that you're going for. So we're going to kind of shift that one over and then glue that down. And we're going to keep repeating the same thing with each color getting lighter as we go towards the top. To give it a nice finished look, we're going to take that decorative piece that comes in the scallop fringe border die, and that's cut out of that same algae cardstock as the cactus, and so we're going to layer that right there, and it really helps bring the cactus into the fringe. Then we can take our scissors and just trim off any of the excess, and that's going to give it a nice, clean, and finished look, and you'll see that it's becoming the most beautiful ground. I think it's just so unique and so perfect for critters in the desert. Now, this scene needs a sun, so we're going to use our brand new paper piecing style die called Mr. Sun. And so we've die cut that out of a light yellow, a darker yellow, and a black. And we're going to trim off the little hands and the feet. That's what I love about this die is the hands and the feet are so cute and sweet. But you can also trim them right off so that you can create a card with the sun in the sky versus a card with the sun down on the ground with the hands and the feet, which is so super cute too. So this is our base piece, and we're going to cover the whole thing in tape runner so that the whole thing has adhesive. And then we're going to start building up the frame here. So here is kind of the outside frame, and we're going to put that down and just make sure that that's nice and secure in place on that adhesive that we put on the base. Then we can take that darker yellow there, which is kind of the sun rays, and we're going to fill those in. And then we're going to go back to the lighter color for the interior frame. And so you see how you can kind of go back and forth to get a really fun look with the two different shades of yellow. Once we have that, we can add the cute little face right into the inside center. And then to add some color to the eyes and the mouth, we have a piece that we've die cut from some black licorice cardstock, and we can just add the little smile and the eyes right in there, and that finishes off our super cute sun. Then we can add some tape runner to the back of the sun and then layer him into the scene. And we're going to tuck him behind the cactus too, which I think is really, really cute. Like, look how happy and sweet this is. Now, the next thing this super cute scene needs is a super cute critter, and Critters in the Desert is perfect for this. And I love that there's so many fun critters to choose from, and in this case, we're going to use this adorable turtle. And so we're going to layer on some adhesive on him and add him into the scene. I think it'd be really cute to add the fennec fox or the roadrunner in here too. It would just be adorable. And then next, we're going to be using the Henry's Build a Sentiment stamp set to add our cute sentiment. And there's some really great sunshine related sentiments that you can mix and match in there, which goes really, really well with Critters in the Desert and the new Mr. Sun die. And so we're going to go ahead and stamp Sending Sunshine Your Way, which is so perfect for Critters in the Desert. And now you can see just how cute this is looking. The only thing left to do is to add this whole thing onto a card base. So we have a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25, and we can attach this down. And I love the idea of either making these scallops the star of the show or also having them stand in for your ground on cute critter scenes. And next up, Shari has some really fun cards. So take it away, Shari.
So I'm using the diagonal stripe border die. This has two pieces, a solid and a stripe. And I'm going to make a set of cards today using all kinds of colors from the textured cardstock card packs. For each of these, I will pick a dark and a light shade and cut the solid in the diagonal. So that first one was from the pink pack. This is from the orange and red. This is from yellow. Then we have green. Next up, I will use aqua. This is great for using scraps, by the way. Then there is the teal pack. I will actually be cutting 2 of these. Then we have blue and then purple. So for each of these, again, I cut the solid from the dark color and the stripe from the light color, and I'll layer them together to get a tone-on-tone diagonal stripe border for my cards. I have them in sets of 3, and that's how I'm going to be making my cards. Now, I wish I had used the double-sided adhesive sheet on these, but since I didn't, I'm just using liquid glue and trying to be very sparing with this. This was the end of the tube, so I kind of made a little bit of a mess, but I could clean it up pretty easy with a baby wipe. So I'm just adding glue to the top and bottom and then kind of going over the center so it kind of skips and hits the lines. And I'm just layering that lighter color on top of the dark. And then I like to set my long acrylic block on it just while I move on to the next one so that glue sets. I'm just being very careful to try and not get too much glue all over the place. But I found that a baby wipe was very helpful in cleaning up any stray glue. So with the magic of video, I've gone ahead and finished all of my stripes, and you're going to see that I'll stack these together back in the trios that I'm going to use for my cards. For the sentiments on these cards, I'm using the new giant outlined merci, thanks, and gracias. And I am going to color these in matching colors. So I cut out the outline from black, and then I have that solid piece from white. And I'm going to color these with my Copic markers. I've pulled out some markers to match my color stripes here, and those are the ones or the trios of colors I will use for the sentiment that goes with the matching stripes. So I'm starting out with the gracias, and I have my 3 warm colors here. And I like that you can kind of customize the color of your sentiment with the markers to match. And this is really easy to color on this solid piece. And it's okay if it's a little bit messy because we're going to put that really sharp, nice black outline around it, and then it's going to look really nice. So you'll see here as I finish up my blending, I'll pick that up and it looks really cool. I'm moving on to the thanks. For this one, I have a green, the aqua, and the teal colors. And I just tried to match them as carefully as possible. And you can see I'm just going in between where those colors meet and trying to blend out that line. I am coloring these at a bit of a diagonal, so they kind of cross over and some of the letters will have more than one color, which I think is a really fun look. Now onto the merci, I have the aqua, or I should say teal, I think. That is that color that I use for the stripes, blue and purple. So now I will use that black outline die cut and my liquid glue to add this beautiful black outline to this Copic colored background. And you'll see as I layer this on top, you get those really fun colored letters peeking through. I do have to add the little inside piece for the E and the R to finish that off. And I will do the same for all of the other sentiments. I think this would also look really cool if you cut it out of black glitter cardstock. I think that would be a really fun look, but I was going for a very graphic look on my cards today. I will add some sparkle at the end with a little bit of embellishments, but I wanted to keep these sentiments nice and bold. Now, I did go with a rainbow of colors today, but this idea is perfect to customize the colors to the favorite colors of the recipient, or perhaps you're making some thank you cards for a party or an event, and there was a color scheme that they used. I think that this would be a really fun way to make some custom thank you cards. And then here are those finished sentiments with that Copic colored background. They were really easy to make. Now for my backgrounds, I wanted to keep it pretty simple. I'm using the new quilted star backdrop, the stitched ripple backdrop, and the stitched speech bubble backdrop, and I've cut them all from fog cardstock, so we have this nice neutral for a background. And I will just put these onto some card bases. This one you will see that white card base peek through those little stars for that little subtle tone on tone look. These completely cover up that card base so you won't see any of that white peeking through. But I thought that this fog cardstock was a really nice way to have a light color that's different than white and have those colors really pop. And I really like the way that it turned out in the end. You could use any backdrop and probably achieve this same look and idea. So now I will add my little stripes in the little trios of colors. For this quilted star backdrop, I'm adding these kind of close to the bottom. I wanted this one to be sort of bottom heavy. I will line each of these up so those stripes are nice and lined up, and then I'll trim off the excess on each side. And you can see there how nice that thanks looks since it matches the colors. And you could kind of put this anywhere on these stripes. I'm going to end up overlapping the stripes a little bit. For the ripple backdrop and that giant merci, I'm adding my stripes a little bit higher for a different look. And for this one, I will probably put my sentiment a little bit above the stripes, not quite overlapping as much as the thanks. I'm trying out some different layouts. I don't want them to look all exactly the same, but I do want them to look like a collection. Now for the gracias, this one is in the landscape orientation, and I decided to flip my colors and go the other direction and line them up right along the bottom there. So I went with the darker one at the bottom up to the yellow at the top, so it is nice and grounded with that darker color at the bottom. And then the gracias I will probably put to the right side here. I've already gone ahead and put some little foam strips on the back of my letters so my sentiments are nice and popped up, and I will do that to all of the sentiments. So I have that gracias kind of towards the right, which I think is a fun look. Merci is going to be centered, overlapping some of those stripes, and then I decided to do the same with the thanks. You could also kind of put it right above the stripes for a different look, or overlap all of the stripes for a different look. So here are all three cards, but I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm pulling out the three sizes of stars from the Hearts and Stars Skinny Tag Die and a little scrap of gold glitter cardstock. And then I will just add some sparkle and shine to these cards with those little star embellishments. And I just like to kind of sprinkle them around first, figure out where I want them to be, and then I pick each one of them up, add a little dot of glue, and then drop them back into place. And usually I do an odd number of stars. I think that that works really well. And I like that these are all different. I did not put the stars in the same configuration. And I just love this little set of cards. They came together pretty quickly. You could make a whole bunch of these and kind of have them waiting for when you need a quick thank you card. These would also be a great little set to give as a gift.
Oh my goodness, Shari, I love these cards so much. I love the bold colors and the bright white backgrounds and those awesome diagonal stripes. They're just beautiful. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. And Grace is going to blow you away. She used the scallop fringe border and she cut them out of different colors of cardstock and also holographic cardstock to create the most beautiful mermaid scales. I love this card so much and I can't wait to try it too. This card here is so much fun. We just used one of the scalloped arches to become the ground for our froyo friend, and it's just adorable. Here you can see those scallop fringe borders layered in such a gorgeous card by Maureen. I love all the mixtures of cardstock. And then here, Elena decided to take a soft pastel look to the scallop fringe border, and it's so pretty for a Mother's Day card. This card here by Elise is so much fun. I love those bold scallops and how she layered them beneath her thanks. I love Audrey's subtle use of the diagonal stripes border. She layered one just in the background and it's such a cool element. I can't wait to try this. And then I love how Letitia used the brand new Give It a Whirl messages with these gorgeous scallops cut out of pattern paper. This card here has a bunch of fringe layered behind a Give It a Whirl. So I love this so much. It's such a fun background for a fun interactive card. Audrey used the base for the diagonal stripes border to create some plain stripes on her card, and I think this is such a fun look. And then I love how Megan added the scalloped arches to the top of her card with this super cute ice cream theme. Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And we cannot wait to see all of your border cards, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and we hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!